Hi, welcome to Gino and Fiona's Garage. I'm Gino.
And I'm Fiona.
So, I've got a problem. This is a Norton Commando 750 from around 1970, and for the last couple of years I've put up with a wee problem that my bench is slowly going down. Apart from that, the Norton Commando is when I stop at lights for any period of time, or at a halt sign for any period of time, when I accelerate away, quite often it smokes like a two-stroke. And also, Fiona sometimes complains when she's following me on her Norton that it smells of oil. So, what do you think it could be, Fiona?
I think it could be a valve seal.
A valve seal? You stupid woman. Go and make the tea. Okay, so as we said, we're going to have to take the cylinder head off to do the valve seals. So to do that, we need to take the petrol tank off first, undo the petrol pipes here, undo the nuts at the front of the tank, and if you've got the connection at the back of the tank, take the tank off, obviously the seat. We'll take the exhausts off, we'll take the carburetor off. We're lucky this is a Mikuni carburetor, so it's relatively simple compared to the Amels, which can be a bit of a faff. We'll also take the coil pack off so that we've got room to manoeuvre the cylinder head when we get it off. Now the things to watch when you're taking the cylinder head off, and I'll show you later, they come off in a sequence. Everything goes on in a sequence, and I like to take it off in the same sequence. And the important thing to always remember is when you take the last bolt out, which is the centre bolt, which I'll show you later, in the centre of the head should automatically lift from the barrel for the gasket. I've seen so many Commandos with broken fins where people have put levers in. You should never have to lever it. If the head doesn't split from the barrels when you slacken the centre bolt, which will be the last bolt, it means you've either forgotten one, or someone said this wrong. So I'd suggest if it doesn't split, just try giving it a gentle kick over, and the spring tension in the valves and the push rods should lift the head. Okay, so this is the tanks off, so the things that need to come off. The coil pack needs to come off, it's held on before screws or 4 nuts in here. Head steady needs to come off. You take these plates off first, and then there's 1, 2, 3 Allen screws or bolts going to the head. Carburetor has to come off. In this case it's a simple screw, and we'll pull the carburetor away for the manifold. The exhausts need to come off. Obviously unscrew the roses. I just take the whole exhaust off, it's just as easy and just as easy to store. So once you've got everything clear, you can begin the process of actually slackening the cylinder head. Okay, here we are just a short while later. I've removed all the ancillaries, so now we start to undo the bolts for the cylinder head. Now there's a specific sequence for this, and you'll find it in any manual. If you look over here, down in the push rod tunnel, you'll see this bolt here is number 1. At the back rear, at the back, there, here, is number 2. And disassembly is, as they say in all the books, is the exact opposite of reassembly. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the ones at the front, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the ones underneath, which are really awkward to get to, are 9 and 10. So we actually take these off first. So we'll do 9, 10, we'll take these off, slacken these, slacken the one at the back, and finally the one in the middle, and at that the head should pop off. Just a little point, it's worth taking the rev counter cable out of there. It gives you more access to the number 10, not in here. By now all the bolts have been removed, and there's just the final number 1 bolt in the centre of the head left. So we slacken this off and keep your eye on the barrels and the head. Hopefully you should see them starting to separate as we slacken this bolt off. The pressure of the valve springs and the push rods should separate the two. You should never have to use a lever. So just make sure this is completely slack. Head up, away from the studs. Just make sure there's nothing catching. This is slightly non-standard because the barrels are non-standard, so it's a complete pain in the backside to get the head off, to be honest. Then get the push rods, push them up into the head if you can. The next stage is a complete pain in the backside normally. You have to lift the head, get the push rods and push them up inside the tunnels. To make them as short as possible, get them free. I have to say there's not an easy way of doing that. Yeah, there's not a pretty way of doing that really, getting the head off. It's a case of fiddling and getting the push rods up inside the tubes as much as you can. I put these cable ties on just to try and steady them. This head is, not this head, but this bike's particularly difficult because these studs are a bit longer than usual because it's a different set of barrels that's on it. They're alloy barrels. Of indeterminate manufacturer, they were on the bike when I got it. But they're through-bolt alloy barrels for a 750, which is unusual. So the barrels are bolted straight into crankcases, which is actually better. The downside of that is there's a couple of modifications been made. There isn't just quite the same room as there is in a standard Commando, so it can be a bit finicky in this one. Standard Commando should be no problem. Hi Fiona, so we've got the head off here on the bench, and we're going to remove the inlet valve, this one here. Talk me through it.
Okay, to take the valve out, we need to start with the valve spring compressor.
So
I'm going to position it on top of the valve spring and tighten this up. I'll move my hand out of the way. I want to check that the tappets
the rocker arm still moves, eh?
are free.
Yeah, so we can see that you're right, Fiona, the collets are now depressed enough.
So now we want to get the magnet in so we could get these out. Oh, yay! One. That's the easy one. Yep, the rocker arm works.
Right. Well done.
And now we can take the valve spring out.
After we unscrew the valve spring compressor and let the spring release. So what we're doing now? We're unscrewing the
valve spring
compressor. Just take that out. Okay, I suppose this is now the interesting part where we see if you were right. So we'll get the head back so we can see it. We'll lift that. Fiona's going to carefully lift out the spring. Just remember there's two springs in these, there's an inner and an outer. And if we look here, look at that. Fiona, look at this.
Oh.
Look what's happened. Yeah, you were right. look, it's the inlet valve seal has popped off. That's what's been giving us all our problems. Well done, Fiona. So we'll go about, we'll put a new inlet valve seal in, we'll put the valve back in, we'll check the seats, put the valve back in, bolt that up, and the head should be ready to go in. While we're at it, we'll check the other one, but I'm pretty sure it's okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we didn't film the collets going in because it's a right pain in the arse, to be honest. So we've put them in, they're seated. Make sure that they are seated. Give them a bit of a tap with this tool to make sure that they don't spring back out again. I'm happy.
And that's us ready, you're happy that they're okay?
With this.
So that's us really, we're ready to put the head back on.
Problem identified and resolved.
Yes, well done, Fiona. This has been a Fiona and Gino's garage production. You stupid woman. Go and make the tea.